The cafe was crowded that Thursday afternoon, the hum of conversations blending with the hiss of the espresso machine. Emily Carter stood near the counter, waiting for her coffee, but her attention wasn't on the menu. It was on Nathan Brooks, who sat at a small table across the room, laughing at something his coworker had said. Emily had known Nathan for almost a year. They worked in the same office building, shared the same lunch break, and often found themselves chatting about everything from weekend hikes to the latest streaming shows. He was friendly, easygoing, the kind of person who made ordinary days feel lighter. But lately, there was something different. Emily caught herself staring. Not a casual glance, staring. Her heart skipped a beat when Nathan smiled. She quickly turned away when she realized he might notice, but for a split second, their eyes met. He blinked, a fleeting look of curiosity crossing his face, and then he returned to his conversation. Emily's fingers tightened around her coffee cup. Why is this so hard to hide? She thought. She shook her head and told herself it was nothing. She was just observant. She noticed things. She always noticed things. Yet, deep down, she knew it wasn't nothing. There was a pull she couldn't explain, a quiet tension that made her chest ache. She had learned to keep it tucked away, behind smiles and jokes. Nathan, completely unaware, continued laughing, leaning back in his chair with that easy charm she couldn't stop noticing. When he glanced up, catching her looking, Emily pretended to examine the cafe menu, pretending her interest was in the pastries rather than him. Later, Nathan walked over, carrying his coffee. You disappear every time I turn around, he said, grinning. Emily raised an eyebrow. Maybe you just don't pay attention, she replied lightly, moving closer than she realized. Her shoulder brushed against his as she set her cup down. Her heart raced, not from the touch, but from the thrill of it. Nathan paused for a moment, studying her face. Something seemed different. There was a softness in her eyes, a hesitation in her voice. He wasn't sure what it meant, but he felt it, a subtle shift in the air. You okay? He asked, though not too seriously. Fine, Emily said, but her voice carried a trace of something unspoken. Then he mentioned a woman from another department who had asked him out. Emily felt it immediately, a sharp twist in her chest, a jolt of something she hadn't wanted to admit to herself. She forced a light, casual tone. Oh. That's nice. Nathan caught it. The flicker of disappointment, quickly masked. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. He shrugged, unsure if he was imagining it. Emily wanted to tell him how she really felt, how her mind often wandered to him during quiet moments, how the sound of his laugh made her stomach flip, how she replayed every word he said when she got home. She wanted to confess that she noticed everything about him, the little habits, the way he ran his fingers through his hair, the subtle gestures that revealed more than words ever could. But she didn't. Instead, she told herself to be careful. Don't get too close. Don't show too much. He can't see this. Not yet. Nathan, meanwhile, felt a strange pull he couldn't explain. He had always liked Emily as a friend, comfortable, funny, easy to be around, but now, something was changing. There was an energy between them, unspoken but tangible. Every glance, every small movement seemed charged. He didn't know if he wanted to name it yet, but he felt it, undeniable and confusing. Emily took her coffee and walked to the corner of the cafe, trying to calm her racing heart. Her thoughts were a whirlwind. Does he feel it too? Or am I imagining things? She tried to focus on her phone, on anything else, but Nathan's presence lingered, magnetic and unrelenting. For a brief moment, she caught herself imagining what it would be like if she reached out, if she let him see her true feelings. She quickly shook the thought away, scared and exhilarated at the same time. The moment passed. She sipped her coffee, pretending to read a message she hadn't sent, while Nathan returned to his table. But the memory of their eyes meeting, the warmth, the curiosity, the unspoken question, stayed with her. Something had shifted, quietly but unmistakably. And neither of them could ignore it. The air between them was different now. Electric. dangerous, exciting. And Emily knew, deep down, that the first sign of something more had already appeared. The next Monday morning, the office buzzed with its usual energy. Phones rang, keyboards clicked, and coffee machines hissed in the background. Emily Carter entered with her usual calm smile, but her mind wasn't on emails or meetings. It was on Nathan Brooks. Earlier that week, she had noticed him staring at a trail map online during lunch. He had mentioned, months ago, that he wanted to hike a certain trail in the Cascades but never found the time. Emily remembered. She couldn't stop herself. On her way to the office, she had picked up a small map of the trail and folded it neatly in her bag. When lunch came, she sat across from him and casually slid the map onto the table. "I thought you might want this," she said, her voice light, as if it were no big deal. Nathan blinked. "You remembered?" Emily smiled, trying to appear nonchalant. "Of course. I remember a lot of things." Nathan looked at her, really looked, and something softened in his expression. "You remember everything about me, don't you?" She shrugged, hiding the truth. "Not everything, just the things that matter." This was one of the things about Emily. She noticed details most people didn't. The color of his coffee mug, the way he tapped his pen when he was thinking, the song he hummed when he thought no one was listening. She remembered small facts from casual conversations, things he had mentioned months ago. It wasn't effort. It was instinct. And she couldn't help how much those small details drew her closer to him. Later that afternoon, they were in the break room. Nathan looked exhausted, rubbing his eyes as he scrolled through his emails. Emily hesitated, then asked, "Long day?" He blinked at her, surprised by the concern. "Yeah, you notice these things, huh?" "Of course," she said quickly, brushing it off with a smile. But inside, her chest ached. She noticed everything because she cared. She wanted him to be seen, to be understood, even if he didn't know it yet. That evening, as she walked home, Emily replayed moments from the day. How he had paused over the trail map, how he had looked at her when she asked about his day. Small signs, subtle gestures, yet each one felt like a spark she couldn't ignore. A few days later, Nathan called her over to talk about a project. She walked into his office, noticing the tired slump in his shoulders. "Hey," she said softly. "Coffee?" She handed him a cup without thinking, just like she always did when she noticed he needed it. He took it, looking at her with that mix of surprise and warmth. "You don't have to do that every time." "I like doing it," she replied, keeping her voice steady. But inside, she wished she could say more. Wish she could admit how much she thought about him during quiet moments, how often she imagined what it would be like if he leaned closer, if he laughed just for her, if he ever saw her the way she saw him. Nathan laughed softly, but there was a hint of curiosity in his eyes. "You worry about me like you're my girlfriend." Emily froze. Her fingers tightened around her notebook. Girlfriend. The word hit her harder than she expected. She forced a light laugh. "I'm just a concerned friend," she said quickly. But that wasn't entirely true. Not anymore. She thought about it, about how much she wanted more than friendship, but she buried it deep, afraid of what he might say or think. The truth was, every small gesture, every remembered detail, every look, they weren't casual for her. Every conversation mattered. Every laugh mattered. Every fleeting touch, accidental or not, left her thinking long after. Nathan, meanwhile, was starting to feel it too. There was something in the way she listened, really listened, that made him feel seen. Her attention wasn't forced or awkward, it was genuine. He caught himself noticing how she leaned in when he talked, how her eyes followed him, how she smiled in that soft, almost shy way that made his chest tighten. Emily, for her part, noticed his subtle glances, the way he smiled when she remembered something small about him. She wanted to tell him, to show him the depth of her feelings, but fear kept her silent. She didn't know if he was ready, or if she was brave enough. One evening, as she packed her bag to leave, she caught herself staring at his empty chair across from her desk. Her mind raced. Does he feel this too? Or am I imagining everything? She couldn't shake the thought that maybe, just maybe, he felt the same pull, the same curiosity, the same longing. She exhaled, letting the tension slip for a moment, but her heart still raced. She knew something was changing between them, quietly, subtly, in ways neither had named yet. And even though neither spoke the words, Emily felt it in every glance, every gesture, every remembered detail that whispered a truth she couldn't hide. She didn't know what the next step would be. But one thing was certain, the connection was growing, undeniable, and Emily couldn't turn back now. It started with the storm. Rain hammered the city streets, turning the sidewalks into mirrors reflecting neon signs and umbrellas. The office emptied quickly, co-workers rushing out into the downpour, leaving only Emily Carter and Nathan Brooks behind. They were stuck in the lobby, the automatic doors swishing constantly as the wind pushed rain against the glass. Emily hugged her coat tighter around herself, shivering from the cold and the sudden stillness. Nathan glanced at her and offered a casual smile. "I can drive you," he said. "I don't mind." Emily hesitated, her heart skipping a beat. She was usually careful, keeping boundaries, keeping her feelings locked away. But today, something was different. The way he looked at her, the quiet space of the empty lobby, it made her chest tighten. "Okay," she said softly. The drive was quiet at first. Rain drummed on the roof, the wiper swishing in steady rhythm. The world outside blurred into streaks of gray and silver. Inside the car, Emily felt an unusual calm, mixed with tension, like holding a secret she almost wanted to shout. She stared out the window, pretending to watch the rain. Nathan glanced at her, noticing the way her fingers fidgeted with the edge of her coat. "Do you ever feel like you're waiting for something?" she asked suddenly, her voice low. "Even when you don't know what it is?" Nathan blinked, surprised by the question. "Yeah," he said slowly. "All the time." Emily swallowed hard, unsure if she should continue. But the words spilled out, unplanned. "I used to think love was loud, big gestures, fireworks, declarations. Now I think it's different. Now I think it's someone who feels like home. Someone who makes the world quiet and safe, even when it's storming." Nathan's eyes softened. He was quiet for a moment, letting her words sink in. There was something in the tone of her voice, something fragile yet honest, that caught him off guard. He wasn't used to Emily being this open. She was always composed, careful, guarded. This was different. "Are you talking about someone?" he asked carefully. Emily hesitated, her fingers tightening around the seatbelt. "I'm not dating anyone," she said, almost a whisper. But she didn't explain the part she couldn't admit, that the person on her mind, always, was sitting right next to her. Nathan exhaled slowly. "I'm glad to hear that," he said softly, leaning slightly closer, his eyes not leaving hers. "Because I kind of hoped you'd care." Emily's breath caught. Her heart raced faster than the wipers outside. "He notices. He feels it too." The thought both thrilled and terrified her. She had spent months hiding her emotions, telling herself they were nothing, that her feelings were just a fleeting crush. But now, sitting here with him, she realized they were undeniable. When he dropped her off, the rain still poured, but the air between them was electric. Emily hesitated at her door, hand hovering near the handle, her mind spinning. She wanted to reach out, to touch his arm, to tell him how much she thought about him every day, but fear held her back. She finally said goodbye with a soft smile and a nod. Nathan smiled back, slow and sincere, as if he understood more than she had said. As she walked inside her apartment, Emily leaned against the door, exhaling. Her heart was still pounding. She replayed the moments in the car over and over, the storm outside, the quiet moments, the words she had almost said. Did he feel it too? She wondered. She didn't need him to speak the words, she could feel it in his presence, in his eyes, in the way he had leaned just slightly closer, in the way he had softened when she spoke. The next day at work, the air between them felt different. Nathan greeted her with a small, knowing smile, and Emily returned it, her chest fluttering, Every glance, every brief brush of hands when passing in the hallway, made her stomach twist. She noticed how he lingered slightly longer in conversation, how he asked questions just to hear her voice, how he seemed to find excuses to sit near her. And she realized, with a mix of fear and hope, that she was no longer pretending. She wanted him in every way she had been denying to herself. At lunch, she caught him watching her as she laughed with a coworker. She felt a blush rise to her cheeks. Nathan's gaze lingered for a heartbeat longer than normal, and her heart did a little flip. This is it, she thought. The line I've been dancing around for months, it's here. The storm, the quiet car, the rain-soaked streets, they had stripped away the masks they had both been wearing. And Emily knew that if she could be honest now, if she could let herself feel without fear, the world between them might finally change. But fear still lingered. What if she misread him? What if admitting it ruined everything? Yet she couldn't stop thinking about the way he looked at her, the subtle warmth in his eyes, the quiet pull she had been feeling for months. The mask had slipped, even if only for a moment, and everything had shifted. And in that shift, Emily realized something powerful: some connections couldn't be ignored. Some feelings demanded to be seen, even if it scared you. It was Friday afternoon, the office quieting as people prepared for the weekend. Emily Carter sat at her desk, trying to focus on reports, but her mind kept drifting to Nathan Brooks. She couldn't shake the memory of the rainstorm, the quiet car ride, the way he had leaned just slightly closer. Every glance, every word from that night replayed in her head like a movie she couldn't pause. Then she saw him across the hall. Nathan was laughing with the woman from another department, the one who had asked him out last month. They seemed comfortable, easy, as if the office had melted away around them. Emily's chest tightened. She turned quickly, pretending to focus on her computer, but the sharp pang of jealousy hit her harder than she expected. Jealousy, she thought, surprised at herself. She wasn't usually this obvious, this vulnerable. But now, seeing him with someone else, she realized just how much she cared. For the rest of the morning, she kept stealing glances at him, trying to read his expression. Every laugh, every casual touch of the other woman, made her stomach twist. And yet, she couldn't stop thinking about the moments they had shared, the trail map, the coffee, the car ride during the storm. Those moments felt alive, real, and filled with something that couldn't be ignored. At lunch, Nathan noticed her quiet mood. He slid into the seat across from her, raising an eyebrow. "You okay?" Emily forced a small smile. "Fine," she said, but it sounded hollow even to her own ears. She wanted to explain, to tell him how she felt, but the words lodged in her throat. Nathan leaned back, watching her carefully. "Because it doesn't feel fine." She froze, caught off guard. He notices everything, she thought, heart hammering. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "You and, what's her name, seem close," she said finally, her voice quiet but firm. Nathan's eyes softened. He didn't flinch or laugh it off. Instead, he studied her, really studied her, and Emily felt a mix of fear and hope. "Does that bother you?" he asked, calm but direct. Emily's chest tightened. The question hit her like a lightning strike. She could deny it, play it cool, pretend she didn't care, but she couldn't. She swallowed, feeling the weight of months of hidden feelings pressing down. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathan leaned forward, his gaze steady and gentle. "Emily." "I'm not seeing anyone," he said quietly. The words were simple, but they carried a weight that made her heart skip. "And honestly? I kind of hoped you'd care." Emily's breath caught. Relief and disbelief collided inside her. "He notices. He feels it too." Her mind raced, memories of every small gesture, every remembered detail, every moment of tension and closeness flooding back. "I think about you more than I should," she whispered, finally letting herself speak the truth. "When something good happens, you're who I want to tell. When something hurts, you're who I look for." Nathan's lips curved into a slow, sincere smile. "That sounds like more than friendship." Emily's eyes shimmered. She felt exposed, vulnerable, and alive all at once. "Maybe," she said softly. "I just didn't know if you felt it too." He reached out, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face, not touching much, just close enough to make her heart race. "I do," he said, voice steady but warm. "I've felt it for a while, but I didn't want to push. I wanted to make sure you felt it too." Emily exhaled, the tension of months slipping away. She felt like she had been holding her breath for a year, and finally, she could breathe. Her heart raced, not with fear this time, but with hope, with possibility. They sat there for a moment, the office noise fading into the background. Their hands didn't touch yet, but the space between them was alive, charged with unspoken feelings. Every glance, every subtle shift, every soft smile carried the weight of everything they had been hiding. Emily realized, in that moment, that the signs she had been sending, lingering looks, remembered details, small gestures, moments of vulnerability, even jealousy, had not gone unnoticed. Nathan had seen them all, understood them all, and he had felt them too. For the first time, she felt a quiet certainty. The tension, the longing, the careful distance, they were no longer necessary. What they had been feeling quietly, secretly, could finally begin out in the open. Nathan spoke again, voice soft but sure. "I've wanted this, wanted us to feel this, for a long time." Emily smiled, a real smile, the kind that reaches the eyes. "Me too," she admitted. They didn't need more words. The air between them said everything: hope, warmth, longing, and the start of something powerful. And as they sat there, smiling at each other, Emily knew one thing with complete certainty: this was the beginning of something beautiful, something worth waiting for, something they had both secretly craved all along. The signs had been there all along. Now, finally, they were both ready to see them.